Hey everyone, and welcome back to Inventive Minds. This is actually our 7th episode already, can you believe it? Time really does fly when you're having fun exploring these incredible inventions.
Yeah, it does.
And speaking of incredible, got to give a quick shout out to Audiocast Lab India.
Absolutely.
They're the ones who make this all sound so good, you know. So today, we are going to tackle something pretty fundamental to, well, pretty much everything actually. Measurement.
Oh, yeah. Big topic.
Have you ever thought about how we got from just like eyeballing distances, you know, to building these crazy skyscrapers that practically touch the clouds?
Right.
Or like going from using sundials to having atomic clocks that are so precise they can measure, like, I don't even know, the tiniest fraction of time
It
imaginable.
really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. And that is exactly what we're going to do today. Take a little journey through the entire evolution of measurement.
Sounds like a plan.
From those first kind of clumsy attempts to the mind-blowing accuracy that we have today. But really, for a second, just imagine a world completely without measurement.
Oh, wow.
No clocks, no rulers, no way to standardize any kind of weight.
I think of that sometimes in the kitchen, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, it'd be like baking a cake, but just using, like, handfuls and pinches of ingredients. Total chaos.
Oh, for sure.
You know, when you think about it, early civilizations really couldn't have farmed or traded or built anything at all without some way to measure stuff.
It's so true. It all started with, like, the most basic practical things. Like, think about the ancient Egyptians, right? They were the ones who realized that a sundial was a pretty smart way to track how much daylight they had.
Yeah, pretty clever.
Just a stick in the ground, and they figured it out.
Elegant and simple, really. Just watching the shadows, that's all it took.
But then you have the Babylonians. They were the ones who gave us our 24-hour day. Those guys were organized.
Oh yeah, they were ahead of the game, for sure.
But let's talk about a measuring tool that's a little bit more, well, let's just say connected to the human body. The cubit. Basically, you just use your forearm to measure length.
On your cubit, yeah.
Can you imagine how inconsistent that would be? My arm is definitely not the same length as yours.
Oh, absolutely. And think about trying to build something big, like a pyramid or something.
Oh, recipe for disaster for sure.
Yeah. The cubit really shows just how hard it was to measure things back then. Like, there was no standard, you know. But they've managed to build some amazing things, even with that problem.
It's pretty mind-boggling. Those pyramids, I mean, how do they do it with such a, let's call it, flexible system?
Ingenuity. Right there. Total problem solvers, these ancient civilizations.
You know, and we also can't forget about the Indus Valley civilization. Those guys were way ahead of their time when it came to standardizing weights for trading.
Oh, yeah, they knew what they were doing.
It's like they invented consumer protection back then.
Basically. It's a big moment. When people realized that for society to actually work, for trade to be fair, for knowledge to grow, you need more than just these random units based on body parts.
Right. You need a standard, something everyone can agree on.
Exactly.
And that, my friends, is where things get really exciting. The quest for reliable, standardized measurements. And that quest takes us all the way from those early tools to the absolutely mind-blowing accuracy of atomic clocks.
From water clocks to atomic clocks.
And that's just the start.
We've got a long way to go.
Oh, yeah. But before we jump ahead to atomic clocks, let's just take a second to appreciate how inventive those early timekeeping devices actually were. We're talking water clocks, candle clocks, even clocks powered by sand.
Sand clocks, yeah.
I've seen those in movies. They're so cool. But can you imagine relying on those to, like, get to a meeting on time?
I'd be so stressed.
Talk about anxiety. And then you've got to refill the water, trim the wicks, make sure the sand's flowing smoothly. It makes you appreciate a good old-fashioned mechanical clock.
Absolutely. Simple and effective.
Speaking of which, those mechanical clocks that started popping up in medieval Europe, they were a total game changer.
Game changer for sure.
Right. Suddenly, everyone could keep track of time. It wasn't just for the rich and famous anymore.
Democratization of time.
And of course, we cannot forget about Galileo. He did some groundbreaking work with the pendulum clock, right?
Like, yeah, Galileo, he was a legend.
He figured out how to connect science and timekeeping in a way that really paved the way for even more precise instruments.
He was always pushing the boundaries.
But even Galileo's genius is nothing compared to the mind-blowing precision of what came next. Atomic clocks. We're talking accuracy down to billionths of a second. It's like comparing a horse and buggy to a spaceship.
It's hard to even wrap your head around.
It's crazy. Atomic clocks are like the ultimate in precision, and they're used for everything from GPS navigation to These crazy scientific experiments that are trying to figure out, like, the secrets of the universe.
Pretty wild stuff.
But even before we entered the atomic age, the quest for precision in measuring length, well, it was already leading to amazing new discoveries.
It's a never-ending quest, really.
And that quest takes us from the world we can see, like buildings and bridges, to the microscopic realm, the world of atoms and nanometers.
It's a journey from the very big to the incredibly small.
Oh, yeah, it is. But before we go there, just a little reminder, if you want to, actually measure how much you know about all this, we have some great book recommendations down in the show notes.
Definitely check them out.
So back to this idea of precision. Our world today depends on an incredible amount of accuracy. From those tiny chips in our smartphones to the massive structures that make up our cities.
Everything has to be just right.
It's mind-blowing. How do we even get to that level of precision?
Well, a lot of it comes down to, you guessed it, standardization. The metric system, for example, that was a huge step forward because it gave everyone a common language for measuring.
It's true. Imagine trying to build a rocket using like cubits and inches.
Yeah, that wouldn't end well.
That's a disaster waiting to happen. But what about when we're dealing with those super, super tiny things? Micrometers, nanometers. It's like a whole different world down there.
It is, and that's where things get really, really interesting.
Right.
We're talking about tools like laser measurement systems and electron microscopes. Those things allow us to see and measure things that are pretty much invisible to the naked eye.
That's like having superpowers. For real.
It is, isn't it?
It's like stepping into Ant-Man's world, but instead of shrinking ourselves down, we're just zooming in on these tiny, tiny things.
Exactly. And all this whole pursuit of precision, it's changed our lives in more ways than we can count, right?
It really has.
Think about the engineering that goes into our bridges and airplanes, or those tiny safety features in your car. All that depends on measurements that are incredibly precise.
It's true.
If we didn't have them, our world would be a lot less reliable and probably a lot more dangerous.
It's scary to think about, actually.
It is.
It really makes you realize how much we rely on something as seemingly basic as measurement. I mean, it affects everything from the everyday, boring stuff to these incredible, extraordinary things. And that brings us back to what this episode is all about. That human drive, that urge to quantify and understand the world. That's what's led us on this incredible journey from sundials to atomic clocks.
And from qubits to nanometers, it's an amazing story, really.
It is. And it's a story about human curiosity and ingenuity and that constant push for accuracy.
We always want to be more precise, don't we?
We do. And that desire, that's what's led to some of the most incredible discoveries and advancements in all of human history. That's exactly what we're going to explore next. So stick around, because we're about to uncover how measurement has fueled some of the most groundbreaking moments in science and technology.
It's going to be good.
It is. Get ready.
Welcome back to Inventive Minds. Remember where we left off, talking about how important precision is for everything from bridges to airplanes.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to think about how much we rely on accurate measurements.
But let's zoom out a little bit. Think bigger. Think about how measurement has affected, exploration.
Exploration. Oh yeah, those early explorers setting sail across the ocean, trying to chart these unknown lands.
No GPS, no Google Maps.
Nothing. Just stars and the sun and a whole lot of bravery, let's be honest.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it. They were relying on celestial navigation, basically figuring out where they were on Earth by looking at the stars and the sun.
Oh yeah, that's right. And timekeeping was a big part of that too, right? For calculating longitude.
Absolutely.
Longitude. That was a tough one for a long time.
It was. Figuring out your north-south position, that was relatively easy.
Yeah, you've got the North Star. You're good to go.
But east-west, that was a real puzzle. And a dangerous one. Getting your longitude wrong could lead to shipwrecks, getting lost, all sorts of bad stuff.
Yikes, no thanks.
But eventually, someone invented the marine chronometer. It was basically a super accurate clock that could handle being on a ship, all the rocking and rolling.
Right, a clock that wouldn't get seasick.
Exactly. And that solved the longitude problem. Suddenly, navigation became so much safer and more accurate, all because of a better clock. It's incredible how one invention can have such a big impact.
It's all connected. And speaking of breakthroughs, let's talk about science. Measurement is like the foundation of everything in science, isn't it?
It really is. Every single scientific discovery, from the laws of physics to, mapping the entire human genome, it all comes back to having those accurate, reliable measurements.
That's right. It doesn't matter what you're studying, the vastness of space or the inner workings of the brain, it's all about measurement. It's what lets us unlock new knowledge and push the boundaries of what we understand about, well, everything.
It's true. It's like the language of science.
Oh, I like that, the language of science. It lets us quantify what we see, compare our observations, and turn those aha moments into, like, solid proof.
Exactly.
And of course, this language of science has led to some pretty awesome technological advancements, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. Smartphones, computers, medical imaging, all that stuff, it all stems from our ability to measure and manipulate matter at incredibly tiny scales.
Right. It blows my mind that these, like, abstract ideas about measurement can turn into real, tangible technologies that change our lives.
It's amazing, isn't it?
We can literally see inside the human body.
Yeah.
We can talk to someone across the world in real time, all because we figured out how to measure the world around us with such incredible precision.
It's pretty remarkable.
It really is. But, for all these amazing advancements, measurement is still so important in our daily, boring lives, too.
Oh, totally.
From baking a cake to checking our blood pressure, we're always measuring things, even when we don't realize it.
It's true. We totally take it for granted. Even the simplest things like cooking a meal require us to have a good grasp of measurement.
It's true.
Can you imagine trying to follow a recipe without measuring cups or spoons? It would be a total mess.
Oh, I can only imagine. Or like trying to do a DIY project around the house without a tape measure.
Forget about it. That shelf is going to be so crooked.
That's a picture I do not need in my life. But seriously, it's pretty cool how measurement is woven into literally every aspect of our lives, from the most mundane stuff to these incredible mind-blowing things. And that brings us back to the heart of this episode, that human desire to quantify and understand the world.
That's what's led us from sundials to atomic clocks, from qubits to nanometers.
It's a journey that tells you a lot about human curiosity and our creativity, and just that constant search for accuracy.
We're always striving for that perfect measurement, aren't we?
We are. And that desire, that's what has fueled so many amazing discoveries and advancements. But now, here's the big question. What does it all actually mean?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? All this measuring, what's the point?
Why should we even care about the difference between a qubit and a nanometer? Or that we can measure time down to like a billionth of a second? What's the significance of it all?
Well, that's what we're going to explore right now. Get ready for some mind-blowing insights into the impact of measurement on our lives, on society, and on the future. Stick with us.
Welcome back to Inventive Minds. We've been on this incredible journey today exploring the world of measurement, from those early sundials to the mind-blowing accuracy of atomic clocks.
It's been a wild ride.
But as we wrap up this episode, I think it's important to ask ourselves, what does it all mean?
Right. What's the significance of all this measuring? Why should we care about the difference between a qubit and a nanometer?
Or the fact that we can now measure time down to like a billionth of a second? What's the point of all this?
Well, I think on a very basic level, measurement helps us to understand where we fit in the universe.
Oh, where we fit in.
Think about it. We used to think that the Earth was the center of everything,
Yeah.
and then we realized that it's just this tiny little planet orbiting an average star in a galaxy that's filled with billions of other stars.
Wow. Yeah, talk about a reality check.
And that change in our thinking, it was all because we got better at measuring things.
That's pretty incredible.
From mapping the stars to exploring the microscopic world, our ability to measure has shaped how we understand the universe.
And how we understand ourselves, too.
Exactly.
But it's not just about these big existential questions, is it? I mean, measurement has a huge impact on our daily lives, too,
Oh, yeah, totally.
and on how society works.
Think about trade and commerce, for example.
Right.
Having standardized units, that makes sure that trade is fair. And accurate measurements are crucial for everything, from making things to building them.
It's true. Can you imagine buying a house based on someone describing its size in, like, paces?
Or arm spans.
Oh my gosh, that would be a nightmare.
Total chaos. And beyond just buying and selling things, measurement is crucial for making sure things are safe and that they work the way they're supposed to.
Oh, I see what you mean.
The food we eat, the medicine we take, the bridges we drive over, the airplanes we fly in, all those things depend on accurate measurements. It keeps us safe.
It's like that saying, measure twice, cut once, but on a way bigger scale.
Exactly. Accurate measurements are the foundation of a society that actually functions, and one that's safe, too.
It's true. And I think it's easy to forget how important that is.
But there's one more thing we can't forget about.
With that.
Innovation. Measurement is what drives innovation.
Innovation.
Whether it's developing new materials or designing more fuel-efficient engines or coming up with groundbreaking medical treatments, progress relies on our ability to measure things really, really well.
So it's this cycle. The better we get at measuring, the more we understand, and the more we understand, the more we can innovate.
Exactly. And that leads us to the most exciting part, the future of measurement.
Ooh, the future.
What incredible new measurement tools are out there waiting to be discovered? What mysteries will we unravel? What incredible things will we create?
I'm getting chills just thinking about it. It feels like we're on the edge of something totally new, all because we keep pushing for more and more precision.
It's exciting, isn't it?
It is. And speaking of pushing for more, I have to remind everyone, we have those amazing book recommendations in the show notes. If you want to learn even more about all this, you got to check them out.
Great point.
So as we come to the end of this episode of Inventive Minds, I think it's safe to say that measurement is more than just, tools and techniques.
It's bigger than that.
It's part of what makes us human, that need to understand the world around us.
To figure things out, to categorize, to break things down.
To push the limits of knowledge and to come up with new ideas.
And that journey of understanding, that search for the perfect measurement, it's going to continue to shape our future in ways we can't even imagine yet.
And that's a pretty exciting thought. So thank you to everyone for joining us on this deep dive into the world of measurement.
It's been an absolute pleasure exploring this with you.
And remember, the next time you look at your watch or use a measuring cup or just look around at all the incredible technology we have today, take a moment to think about the amazing history of measurement that made it all possible.
It's a story worth remembering.
It is. Until next time, stay curious, everyone.
And keep those measuring tapes handy.
And don't forget to join us for our next episode of Inventive Minds. We'll be exploring home comforts, everyday inventions that changed lives.
It's going to be a good one.